Picture this. You're hiding in a dark closet. Your heart is pounding so hard you're afraid they'll hear it. A hand is pressed firmly over your mouth. Through a tiny crack in the door, you can see your wife and your brother laughing together, holding champagne glasses. And then you hear the words that make your blood run cold. The poison is working perfectly. He'll be gone soon, and no one will ever suspect a thing. This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. This is what happened to Marcus Chun on what should have been an ordinary Thursday evening in San Francisco. And the woman whose hand was over his mouth? She wasn't trying to hurt him. She was trying to save his life. But let me tell you how we got here. Because this story, my friends, is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. Marcus Chun had everything most people dream about. At 42 years old, he'd built a tech empire from nothing. His company was worth billions. His mansion in Pacific Heights overlooked the San Francisco Bay with views that took your breath away. He drove cars that cost more than most people's houses. But you know what he valued most? The people closest to him. His wife, Elena. Beautiful, elegant, always by his side at charity events and business dinners. They'd been married for 10 years, and Marcus thought he knew everything about her. He trusted her with his heart, with his life, with his fortune. And then there was Daniel, his younger brother. Growing up, Marcus had protected Daniel from everything. Bullies at school, financial troubles, career setbacks. When Marcus's company took off, one of the first things he did was give Daniel a top position. Family meant everything to Marcus. It was his foundation, his anchor, his reason for working so hard. On this particular Thursday, Marcus was supposed to be in a business meeting across town. It was supposed to last all evening, but the meeting got canceled at the last minute. And Marcus, being the romantic that he was, thought, "Perfect. I'll surprise Elena. We'll go to that Italian restaurant she loves, have a nice dinner, reconnect." He smiled to himself as he drove home earlier than expected, thinking about the look of surprise and joy on her face when he walked through the door. If only he had known. If only he could have seen what was waiting for him. The moment Marcus stepped into his mansion, something felt off. The house was too quiet, but not empty. There was an energy in the air he couldn't quite place. He closed the door behind him, about to call out Elena's name, when suddenly, a hand grabbed his arm. Hard. Before he could react, before he could even process what was happening, he was being pulled sideways. It was Rosa Martinez, his housekeeper. Rosa had worked for him for almost 8 years. She was quiet, respectful, always in the background. He'd never seen her move so fast, never seen such fear in her eyes. She yanked him into the coat closet near the entrance and pulled the door almost shut, leaving just a crack. Her hand came up and covered his mouth firmly. Her face was inches from his, and he could see she was terrified. "Shut up," she whispered, barely making a sound. "Don't say a word. Don't make a sound. Please." Marcus's mind was racing. What was happening? Was there a robbery? An intruder? Why was Rosa hiding him? He tried to ask questions, but her hand pressed harder against his mouth. Her eyes were pleading with him. "Trust me. Stay quiet. Please." So he did. Even though every instinct told him to demand answers, even though confusion was overwhelming him, Marcus stayed silent. Because something in Rosa's face told him his life depended on it. In the darkness of that closet, pressed against winter coats and old umbrellas, Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. He could hear voices coming from the living room. One of them was Elena's. The other was Daniel's. And they were laughing. Through that narrow crack in the closet door, Marcus could see into the living room. The space was bathed in the golden light of the late afternoon sun streaming through the tall windows. And there they were, Elena and Daniel, standing close together, each holding a glass of champagne. At first, Marcus thought maybe they were planning a surprise for him. Maybe this was innocent. Maybe. But then he heard what they were saying. "I can't believe how well this is working," Elena said, her voice filled with excitement. "He has no idea. Absolutely no idea." Daniel laughed, that familiar laugh Marcus had heard 1,000 times. But now it sounded different. Cold. Cruel. The beauty of it is how slow it is. A little bit in his morning coffee. A little bit in his dinner. His symptoms look exactly like stress and overwork. Even his doctor thinks he's just burning out. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. They were talking about him. They had to be talking about him. How much longer? Elena asked. "Another month, maybe 2, Daniel replied casually, as if they were discussing a business deal. "We can't rush it. It has to look natural. Heart attack, stroke, something like that. The doctors will sign off on it without question. He's been complaining about headaches, fatigue, chest pain. It's all documented. The champagne glasses clinked together. Marcus watched, frozen in horror, as his wife and his brother toasted to his death. And then, Elena's voice dropped lower, more intimate. And then everything is ours. The company, the houses, the money. All of it. We'll wait a respectable amount of time, of course. You'll play the grieving widow beautifully. And I'll play the devastated brother stepping up to save the company. No one will suspect anything. In that moment, standing in the darkness with Rosa's hand still covering his mouth, Marcus felt his entire world shatter. Not just crack. Not just break. Completely shatter into a million pieces. The headaches he'd been having for months. The constant fatigue. The nausea. The chest pains that made him think he was working too hard. It wasn't stress. It wasn't burnout. They were poisoning him. His wife and his brother were slowly, deliberately murdering him. And suddenly, all those symptoms weren't just memories anymore. They were real. Marcus felt his head start to spin. His stomach churned. His legs felt weak. Whether it was the poison or the shock, he couldn't tell. All he knew was that he might collapse right there in the closet. Rosa must have felt him sway because she wrapped her other arm around him, steadying him, keeping him upright. Her eyes met his in the darkness, and he saw something there that broke through his shock. She had known. She had known, and she had been waiting to tell him, waiting for the right moment to save him. Marcus tried to adjust his position, tried to keep his balance as the dizziness washed over him. His arm brushed against a shelf above his head. Everything happened in slow motion. A small box tilted, teetered, and then fell. The sound it made hitting the floor was small. Just a soft thud. But in the silent house, it might as well have been an explosion. In the living room, Elena and Daniel stopped talking immediately. The laughter died. Marcus could see them through the crack, their heads turning toward the source of the sound, their bodies tensing. What was that? Elena's voice was sharp now, suspicious. I'll check, Daniel said, already moving. Rosa's eyes went wide. She looked at Marcus, and he saw her mind working at lightning speed. Then, without warning, she slipped out of the closet, closing the door almost completely behind her. Marcus wanted to grab her, to pull her back, but she was already gone. He heard her footsteps moving quickly down the hallway. Away from him. Away from Elena and Daniel. And then, crash! A huge noise came from somewhere near the back of the house. It sounded like boxes falling, heavy things hitting the floor. Rosa had created a distraction, drawing them away from him. What the hell? Daniel's voice, now heading toward the sound. Check the garage, Elena commanded, following him. Marcus didn't waste a second. The moment they were out of sight, he pushed open the closet door and stumbled out. His legs were weak, his head was spinning, but pure adrenaline kept him moving. He had to get out. He had to survive. Rosa appeared at his side like a ghost, grabbing his arm, supporting his weight. She didn't say a word, just guided him swiftly toward the service entrance at the side of the house. They moved through the kitchen, past the laundry room, staying low and quiet. Outside, Marcus headed toward his car, a beautiful, armored luxury sedan parked in the circular driveway. But Rosa grabbed him and pulled him back. No, she whispered urgently. They can track that car. GPS, everything. The moment they realize you're gone, that's the first thing they'll check. Of course. Of course they could track it. Marcus's mind was foggy, slow. The poison was affecting him more now that he knew what it was. But Rosa was thinking clearly for both of them. She led him to the street behind the property, where an old, beat-up sedan was parked. The paint was faded, there were dents on the sides, but when Rosa started the engine, it roared to life. Marcus collapsed into the passenger seat. As Rosa pulled away from the curb, driving quickly but not so fast as to draw attention, Marcus looked back at the mansion. His home. His prison. The place where the two people he loved most had been slowly killing him. His body shook. His skin felt hot and cold at the same time. His vision blurred. Rosa kept talking to him, kept saying his name, telling him to stay awake, to hold on. But the poison was winning. His symptoms were getting worse, his body was shutting down, and all he could think was, how did I not see this? How did I trust them? How could they do this to me? And then, as darkness crept into the edges of his vision, one more thought. Will I even survive the night? Rosa pressed harder on the gas pedal, her jaw set with determination. Stay with me, Marcus, she said firmly. Stay with me. This isn't over. We're going to fight. Do you hear me? We're going to fight. But as they disappeared into the San Francisco night, Marcus wasn't sure he had any fight left in him. The betrayal has been revealed. The escape has begun. But Marcus is dying, Rosa is all alone, and Elena and Daniel think their plan is still perfect. What happens next will test everything they have left. Marcus barely remembered the night. It came back to him in flashes, like a nightmare that wouldn't quite fade. Rosa's small house in the Mission District. The narrow streets, so different from his neighborhood. Her hands pressing cold, wet towels to his forehead. His body convulsing, shaking uncontrollably. The taste of poison in his mouth, the fire in his veins. At some point during that endless night, Marcus had called out for his mother. She'd been gone for 5 years, but in his delirium, she felt close. He begged her for forgiveness for things he couldn't even remember. He wept. He shook. And through it all, Rosa stayed by his side, never sleeping, never leaving, just whispering over and over. Stay with me. You're going to make it. Stay with me. When morning light finally crept through the small window, Marcus opened his eyes. He was alive. Weak, pale, barely able to move, but alive. Rosa helped him to the bathroom. When Marcus looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize himself. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken and shadowed. His skin had a gray tone that scared him. This was what the poison had done. This was what months of slow murder looked like. After a cold shower that shocked his system awake, Rosa brought him simple clothes, a clean shirt, loose pants. Marcus got dressed slowly, every movement requiring effort. Then Rosa helped him to the small couch in her living room. We need to figure out what to do, she said softly. We need a plan. But before they could talk, Rosa turned on the small television in the corner of the room. It was time for the morning news. She wanted to see if there was anything about Marcus's disappearance yet. What they saw made both of them freeze. There on the screen stood Elena. She was outside the mansion, surrounded by reporters and camera crews. She wore a simple black dress, her eyes red as if she'd been crying. She looked like the picture of a devastated wife. My husband Marcus Chun has disappeared, Elena said, her voice breaking convincingly. We believe he may have done something terrible. The news anchor's voice cut in. Mrs. Chun is referring to allegations that her husband embezzled over $50 million from his own company before vanishing yesterday evening. Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Embezzled? He'd never stolen a penny in his life. That company was his baby, built from nothing with his own hands and mind. Then Daniel appeared on screen, standing next to Elena, his arm around her shoulders protectively. Marcus's brother. The man who was poisoning him. Now playing the role of supportive family member. We're working with authorities, Daniel said, his face serious and concerned. We believe Marcus may not have been acting alone. The screen changed to show a photo. Rosa's photo. Marcus heard her gasp beside him. Police are also seeking Rosa Martinez, a former employee of the Chun household, the reporter continued. Sources say Ms. Martinez and Mr. Chun may have been involved in a romantic relationship and that she may have helped him flee with the stolen funds. Rosa's hands flew to her mouth. Tears spilled down her cheeks immediately. Marcus watched as this strong, brave woman who had saved his life began to crumble. The news kept playing. More lies. More accusations. They showed photos of Marcus and Rosa together. Innocent pictures from charity events where Rosa had been working in the background, now edited and framed to look suspicious. They spoke about financial irregularities that Marcus knew were fabricated. They painted a picture of a corrupt CEO and his lover running away with stolen money. No, Rosa whispered, her voice breaking. No. We didn't. This isn't true. Marcus reached over and took her hand. It was shaking. This woman had risked everything to save him, and now her name, her reputation, her entire life was being destroyed on television for the whole world to see. Rosa, look at me, Marcus said, his voice still weak but filled with determination. Look at me. She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. I promise you, Marcus said firmly. I promise you on everything I have left, I will clear your name. I will clear both our names. They're not going to get away with this. Do you hear me? They're not going to win. Rosa nodded, but she looked broken. She'd spent her whole life being honest, working hard, staying in the background. And now, with one news broadcast, Elena and Daniel had made her into a villain. Marcus felt anger rising through the poison-induced fog in his mind. Yes, they'd tried to kill him. Yes, they'd betrayed him. But now they'd gone after Rosa too. An innocent woman who'd done nothing but try to save a life. That's when something shifted in Marcus. The sadness, the shock, the hurt, it all began to transform into something else. Something stronger. They wanted a fight? They were going to get one. Marcus sat up straighter, ignoring the dizziness. His mind was starting to work again, starting to clear. He was a businessman. He'd built an empire by being smarter than his competitors, by thinking 3 steps ahead. He could do this. He had to do this. Rosa, he said. Is there any evidence? Anything at all that could prove what they did? Rosa wiped her eyes and thought for a moment. Then her face changed. Your office, she said. At the mansion. You have a safe. Marcus remembered. A large safe behind a painting in his home office. He kept important documents there, backup files, some personal items. I haven't opened it in over a year, Marcus admitted. But there might be something. Medical records, maybe security footage backups, I don't know. There might be more than that, Rosa said, her voice getting stronger as hope crept in. If they've been planning this for months, they might have left evidence. The poison has to be somewhere. Documents they forged. Maybe recorded conversations if your security system was running. It was a long shot, but it was something. The problem was obvious, though. How do we get into the mansion? Marcus asked. Elena and Daniel are there. Security is there. And by now they probably know I'm gone. They'll be watching for me. Rosa stood up and began pacing, thinking hard. Then she stopped. The gala. What gala? Elena's hosting the annual charity gala tomorrow night. It's been planned for months. She won't cancel it. That would look suspicious. The house will be full of people. Hundreds of guests, caterers, staff, security focused on the event, not on the interior of the house. Marcus felt a spark of hope. You think we could get in during the party? I know that house better than anyone, Rosa said, her confidence returning. I worked there for 8 years. I know every room, every hallway, every entrance. I know where the cameras are. I know where security stands. I know the blind spots. For the next several hours, they planned. Rosa drew maps from memory on paper, showing the layout of the mansion. She marked camera locations, guard stations, service entrances. She explained which doors were typically locked during events and which ones stayed open for staff. There's a window in the basement, Rosa said, pointing to her drawing. It's been broken for weeks. Elena kept telling me to get it fixed, but I kept forgetting. If it's still broken, I can get in there. You, Marcus said. Rosa, I can't ask you to. I'm already in this, Rosa interrupted firmly. My face is on the news. I'm already accused. And besides, you can barely walk. Look at you. You're weak, you're sick. If you try to sneak into that house, you'll pass out or get caught immediately. I'm the one who has to go. Marcus hated it, but she was right. The poison had devastated his body. He could barely make it across the room without feeling dizzy. Okay, he agreed reluctantly. But I'll be nearby. I'll have a phone, and you'll have one too. We'll stay connected the whole time. If anything goes wrong. If anything goes wrong, I run, Rosa said simply. But it won't go wrong. I can do this, Marcus. I have to do this. For both of us. They spent the rest of the day and into the night refining the plan. Rosa would enter through the basement during the gala. She'd make her way to Marcus's office, avoiding the main party areas. She'd open the safe and take whatever evidence she could find. Then she'd leave the same way she came in. Marcus gave her the safe combination, which she memorized. They went over the route she'd take multiple times until she could recite it backward. They discussed what to do if she encountered security, if someone recognized her, if the safe was empty. As night fell, they prepared everything they'd need. Rosa found her old housekeeper uniform in a bag she'd brought from the mansion. It still fit perfectly. She put her hair up the way she used to wear it. When Marcus saw her, she looked exactly like she had when she worked there. Invisible, just another member of the staff. Marcus found an old burner phone and set it to record audio continuously. Rosa would keep it in her pocket the entire time. Whatever happened, he'd be able to hear it. And if she found evidence, they'd have that recorded too. Are you scared? Marcus asked her as they finished preparing. Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Terrified, she admitted. But I'm more angry than scared. What they did to you, what they're doing to me, it's wrong. And somebody has to stop them. Marcus looked at this woman, this housekeeper he'd barely noticed for years, and felt overwhelming gratitude and respect. She didn't have to do any of this. She could have stayed silent, kept her job, stayed safe. But instead, she'd chosen to risk everything to save him and to fight for the truth. Thank you, he said quietly. For everything. Rosa gave him a small, determined smile. Thank you when we win, she said. Now let's go get our proof. The next evening, as the sun set over San Francisco, the Chun mansion blazed with lights. Expensive cars lined the driveway. Men in tuxedos and women in elegant gowns streamed through the front entrance. Music drifted out into the night air. It was the charity gala, and it was in full swing. A few blocks away, Marcus sat in Rosa's old car, parked in the shadows. He was dressed in simple, dark clothes. His hands gripped the burner phone that was connected to Rosa's. Through it, he could hear everything: her breathing, her footsteps, the distant sound of the party. Rosa had left 30 minutes ago, walking toward the mansion with her head held high, dressed in her housekeeper uniform. Now Marcus listened and waited, his heart pounding with fear for her. I'm at the basement window. Rosa's voice came through the phone quietly. It's still broken. I'm going in. Marcus heard the sound of the window being pushed open, then some scraping and shuffling as Rosa climbed through. His hands clenched tighter around the phone. I'm in, Rosa whispered. Basement is clear. Moving to the stairs. For the next 10 minutes, Marcus listened to Rosa's careful progress through the mansion. She moved slowly, deliberately. He heard her pause several times, presumably when staff or security passed nearby. He heard the distant sound of party music and laughter, all those wealthy people upstairs having no idea what was happening beneath their feet. Approaching the office hallway, Rosa whispered. 2 security guards just passed, waiting for them to clear. Silence. Marcus could barely breathe. Every second felt like an hour. Okay, they're gone. I'm at the office door. Entering now. Marcus heard a door open and close softly. Then Rosa's voice barely audible. I'm in the office. Going to the safe now. Marcus had told her the safe was behind a painting of San Francisco Bay that hung on the north wall. He heard movement, then a slight scraping sound as the painting was moved aside. Found it, Rosa said. Entering the combination. Click. 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 Beep. It's open, Rosa breathed. Oh my God, Marcus. There's a vial here. A small glass vial with clear liquid. And papers, medical documents, but they look wrong. Forged signatures, fake test results showing you were sick. This is it. This is the evidence. Marcus felt hope surge through him for the first time in days. Take everything, he said into his phone. Every single thing in that safe. I am, Rosa replied. There's also wait. Someone's coming. Someone's opening the office door. Marcus's blood ran cold. Rosa. Shoo, she hissed. Then silence. Through the phone, Marcus heard a door open fully. Then voices. His whole body went rigid. It was Elena and Daniel. I still can't believe he actually ran, Elena's voice said, crystal clear through Rosa's hidden phone. I thought he'd just die like he was supposed to. Daniel laughed. That same cruel laugh Marcus had heard yesterday. Well, it doesn't matter now. He's gone, we have control of the company, and everyone thinks he's a thief. Even if he showed up, no one would believe him. And Rosa? Elena asked. That was genius, making her part of the story. Now if either of them surfaces, they look guilty together. No one will believe a word they say. Marcus's hands were shaking. But Rosa was still in that office. Hiding somewhere, he realized. She must have ducked under the desk or behind furniture when she heard them coming. Should we be worried? Elena asked, her voice closer now. I mean, what if? What if what? Daniel interrupted. What if they have proof? They don't. The poison is untraceable. The documents look perfect. And even if Marcus somehow survived and wanted to fight back, he is nothing. We made sure of that. They were talking so casually, so openly about their crime. And Rosa, brave, incredible Rosa, was recording every single word. Marcus listened as they continued discussing their plans. How they'd sell off Marcus's assets. How they'd manipulate the board of directors. How they'd wait a few months before officially being together, so it didn't look suspicious. They talked about money, about power, about their future built on Marcus's murder. Every word was being recorded. Every confession, every detail, every piece of their conspiracy. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Daniel said, we should get back to the party. People will wonder where we are. You're right, Elena agreed. This is supposed to be my night to play the brave widow. Their footsteps moved toward the door. It opened and closed. Silence. Oh my God, Rosa's voice came through the phone, shaking. Oh my God, Marcus, did you hear all that? Every word, Marcus said, his voice tight with emotion. Every single word. You did it, Rosa. You got them. But you need to get out of there now. Right now. I'm coming, Rosa said. Marcus heard movement, heard her gathering the items from the safe. I have everything. The vial, the documents, and the recording of what they just said. I'm leaving now. But leaving wasn't as easy as entering. Rosa made it out of the office and was heading back toward the basement when she turned a corner and came face to face with Mrs. Thompson, the head housekeeper who'd worked at the mansion even longer than Rosa. Through the phone, Marcus heard a woman's voice. Rosa? Rosa Martinez? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be. Then a scream. A struggle. Rosa's heavy breathing. Rosa! Marcus shouted into the phone, but of course she couldn't respond now. He heard more struggling, then Rosa's voice, firm and commanding. I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson. I'm so sorry. But I can't let you stop me. More sounds. Then a door closing. Rosa's footsteps running now, not trying to be quiet anymore. I had to lock her in a supply closet, Rosa panted as she ran. She saw me. She screamed. Marcus, they're going to know I was here. Just get out, Marcus urged. Run. Through the phone, Marcus heard Rosa's desperate escape. She made it to the basement, climbed out the window, and ran across the grounds. By the time she reached the street where Marcus was waiting, both of them were shaking with adrenaline. She threw herself into the car, and Marcus saw that she was clutching a small bag. Inside were the vial of poison, the forged documents, and the phone with the recording. They had it. They had everything they needed. But Rosa also pulled out something else from her bag, clothes she'd grabbed along the way. One of her old black dresses from when she worked there, and one of Marcus's old suits. What are these for? Marcus asked. Rosa's eyes met his, and he saw a fierce determination there. We're not running anymore, she said. We're going back. Tonight. To that party. We're going to walk in there with our heads held high, and we're going to show everyone the truth. Marcus stared at her. It was crazy. It was dangerous. If they went back, Elena and Daniel could have them arrested on the spot, or worse. But Rosa was right. Running wouldn't solve anything. Hiding wouldn't clear their names. The only way to truly win was to face their accusers with the truth and make sure the whole world heard it. Okay, Marcus said, his voice growing stronger despite his still weak body. Let's get dressed. Let's end this. They changed quickly in the car, Marcus into the suit and Rosa into the elegant black dress. When they looked at themselves, they didn't look like fugitives anymore. They looked like two people who belonged at a high society gala. Two people with purpose and power. They drove back to the mansion, parked right in the front this time, and walked through the main entrance as if they owned the place. Because Marcus thought he did own it. This was still his home, no matter what Elena and Daniel had done. The party was at its peak. The grand ballroom was filled with San Francisco's elite, tech executives, politicians, celebrities, philanthropists. A live orchestra played classical music. Waiters circulated with champagne and appetizers. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Marcus and Rosa walked in together, and at first, no one noticed them. But then, gradually, heads began to turn. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Someone gasped. Someone else pointed. The music faltered, and then stopped completely as the orchestra noticed the disruption. Marcus walked forward, Rosa at his side, toward the center of the ballroom where Elena and Daniel were standing on a small stage, having just been about to give a speech. Elena saw him first. Her face went white as if she'd seen a ghost. Which, Marcus supposed, she basically had. She'd expected him to be dead by now. Daniel turned and saw Marcus. His mouth fell open in shock. The entire room was silent now. Hundreds of people watching. Marcus reached the stage and climbed up onto it. Rosa stood at the base, holding the small bag with the evidence. Hello, Elena, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom. Hello, Daniel. Surprised to see me? Elena tried to compose herself. Marcus, where have you been? We've been so worried. Don't, Marcus interrupted, his voice hard. Don't insult everyone in this room with more lies. He turned to face the crowd. Faces he recognized. Friends, business partners, people he'd known for years. All of them staring at him like he was a stranger. I know what you've all heard about me, Marcus said. That I stole money. That I ran away. That I betrayed my wife, my company, my responsibilities. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few people pulled out their phones, starting to record. But I'm here tonight to tell you the truth, Marcus continued. My wife and my brother have been poisoning me for months. Slowly, deliberately, trying to kill me and make it look natural so they could take my company and my money. Gasps erupted. Elena stepped forward. That's insane. He's clearly having some kind of breakdown. Am I? Marcus said. He gestured to Rosa, who handed him the bag. He reached inside and pulled out the vial of poison. This was in my office safe, hidden there by them. The same poison they've been putting in my food and drinks for months. He pulled out the forged medical documents. And these are fake medical records they created to make my poisoning look like natural illness. Those could be anything. Daniel protested, but his voice sounded panicked now, not confident. You're right, Marcus agreed. They could be. Words can be twisted. Documents can be questioned. But voices. He pulled out the phone. Voices don't lie. He pressed play. Elena's voice filled the ballroom, crystal clear. I still can't believe he actually ran. I thought he'd just die like he was supposed to. Then Daniel's laugh, followed by his voice. Well, it doesn't matter now. He's gone, we have control of the company, and everyone thinks he's a thief. The recording continued. Every word of their conversation in the office, their confession, their plans, their cruel jokes about the perfect crime. All of it played for hundreds of witnesses. The crowd erupted. Some people shouted in shock. Others pulled out their phones, calling the police, calling the news. Elena tried to run, but several guests blocked her path. Daniel tried to speak, to explain, but no one was listening to him anymore. Marcus looked out at the crowd and saw belief in their eyes. Finally, people could see the truth. A prominent lawyer pushed through the crowd. Mr. Chun, I'm calling the police immediately. We all heard that recording. That's a clear confession to attempted murder and fraud. More people came forward. We believe you, Marcus. We're so sorry. How can we help? Marcus felt tears stinging his eyes, but he held them back. He turned to Rosa, who was standing beside him now, and took her hand. This woman, Marcus said to the crowd, saved my life. She risked everything to protect me when no one else would. Her name is Rosa Martinez, and she is not a criminal. She is a hero. The crowd applauded. Rosa's eyes filled with tears, but these were different tears. Tears of relief, of vindication, of hope finally restored. As police sirens grew closer outside, as Elena and Daniel were surrounded by guests who would make sure they didn't escape, Marcus finally allowed himself to feel it. They had won. The truth had won. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't about the money or the company or even justice, really. It was about something simpler and more important. The truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how deeply someone tries to bury it. And sometimes, just sometimes, loyalty and courage are stronger than betrayal and greed. You know, when I think about Marcus and Rosa's story, I'm reminded of something important. We all face betrayals in our lives. Maybe not as extreme as poison or attempted murder, but betrayal nonetheless. And when we're betrayed by people we trust, it can feel like the whole world is against us. But Marcus's story teaches us that the truth matters. It teaches us that one person's loyalty can change everything. It teaches us that even when you're at your weakest, even when everyone believes lies about you, even when giving up seems easier than fighting, you can still win if you hold on to the truth. Rosa could have stayed silent. She could have kept her job and her safety. But she chose courage over comfort. She chose to save a life even when it cost her everything. And that's the real power in this story. Not that the bad guys got caught, but that good people, ordinary people, decided that truth mattered enough to risk everything for it. So if you're facing your own battle right now, if someone has betrayed you or lied about you, remember Marcus and Rosa. Remember that truth has a power that lies can never match. And remember that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect. The quiet ones who've been watching and waiting for the right moment to act. Hold on to hope. Hold on to truth. And never, ever give up the fight.